Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and in this video we are going to make some keto refried beans. If you get out onto the internet and do a search on keto refried beans, you'll find that there's really two styles of recipe. One uses black beans, well actually black soybeans. These are extremely high fiber, which means extremely low net carbs. Now a lot of people object to using soy, so if you're one of those people, keep watching because I'm going to show you a non-soy version. But if you're looking for something super easy and quick, just get yourself a can of black soybeans, cook them up on the stovetop, then hit them with a potato masher or an immersion blender, and then add the seasonings of your choice. You're pretty much there. The other style of keto refried beans relies on eggplant. And having made that recipe, I've got sort of two issues with it. One, the eggplant is the main contributor to the carbs in this recipe. The other is once you make it, it kind of just tastes like a Mexican flavored pureed eggplant. And that is why I'm using lupini flakes. Because I'm using lupini, I don't need to make the air quotes when I say refried beans, because lupinis are beans. They are high fiber, high protein, very keto. Just be warned, if you do have a peanut allergy, don't eat lupini. They are a fairly close cousin to the peanut, and as such, if you've got a peanut allergy, you'll probably have a bad reaction to lupini. Now before you get ready to accuse me of adding some new weird ingredient to your keto pantry, I'm here to tell you lupini flakes are awesome. I've got a couple of different recipes that use them. I do a keto hummus, which I challenge you to tell the difference between that and a chickpea hummus. I've also done falafel with them. And I found that these are great if you just cook up some chorizo and then you throw these in, and then maybe some egg. You got sort of this scrambled egg mashup, and then you put some cheese on it and some sour cream and some hot sauce. Great, great filling, high protein, high fat breakfast. One of the things that I love about this recipe is that you can make the various elements of it in parallel. As you're cooking the chorizo, as you're cooking the lupini beans, as you're cooking the eggplant, you can be doing all of this simultaneously and then just bring it together at the end. But hey, why don't we start making some refried beans? We'll start by preheating our oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 230 degrees Celsius. Then we have a medium eggplant. This one weighs about 1 pound 9 ounces or 720 grams. I'm going to cut this in half and then into quarters, then into eighths. And then I'm going to flip them over and give them one last cut. And that's going to allow me to make some nice cubes here. I would say they're probably 3/4 of an inch, 2 centimeters. Once our eggplant is cubed, I'm going to transfer it to a parchment-lined baking sheet. Then I'm going to drizzle 1/4 cup of olive oil, that's 60 ml, over my eggplant. We don't have to be perfect, because we're then going to toss this by hand, making sure that as much of this eggplant is coated with olive oil as possible, and that there's none really left on our parchment sheet, that it's all absorbed. Then we'll flatten this out, give it a sprinkle of sea salt, about a ½ teaspoon, and then it's off to the oven for 20 minutes. While the eggplant is roasting, we're going to prepare two other ingredients. One is chorizo, and you want to make sure that you're using Mexican chorizo, not Spanish chorizo. We're going to use 1 tube of it. Generally, a package comes with 2 tubes. Once cooked, this is going to be somewhere between 3½ and 4 ounces, or right around 100 grams. The other ingredient we're going to prep is our lupini flakes. We're going to be using 1 cup, or right about 100 grams. Then we'll put the chorizo into a small pan over medium heat. I'm using cast iron. You don't have to. For our lupini flakes, we'll start by adding 3 cups of water, that's 600 ml, to a 3-quart pan. To this, I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. This helps soften up the lupini flakes. Then, as I wait for that water to come up to a boil, I'm going to start busting up this chorizo and spreading it around the pan a little bit. Now that my water's boiling, I will add 1 cup or 100 grams of lupini flake. And you'll see that almost immediately it starts to foam. This is going to be something we're going to have to monitor to keep it from overflowing. Be very careful as you're taking care of your chorizo not to get distracted and forget about your lupini flakes, because you can see I almost overflow right here. So we're going to pull this off the heat, stir down the foam, and then return it to the heat. And we'll repeat this process of removing from the heat, stirring down, and returning for about 4 minutes. At which point we'll be able to achieve a rolling boil without any sort of foam. After 20 minutes, we'll remove the eggplant from the oven and toss it around a little bit so that we can brown both sides. Then this is going to go back into the oven for another 10 minutes. We'll turn off the heat to our lupini flakes and our chorizo and let these cool on the stovetop. And once the lupini flakes have cooled a little bit, we're going to run these through a sieve to drain them. After our eggplant is cooked that additional 10 minutes, we'll pull that out of the oven and let that cool down. Then we will add our ingredients to a large food processor, starting with the eggplant. Then we'll add our chorizo and our lupini flake. To this, we will add the juice of 1 lime. And yes, I do squeeze out both halves here. I'm only showing one. Then 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and finally 2 ounces or 60 grams of cream cheese cubed. And you want to kind of spread this around so that it blends evenly. Then we'll pop on our lid and process for 30 to 60 seconds. Then we'll take off the lid, scrape down the sides, and then we're going to process for about another minute. Keep an eye on it and let that be your guide. We want it to get fairly smooth. So when you don't see any big chunks swimming around anymore, it's ready. The texture is going to look a little bit more like hummus than refried beans, but trust me, this stuff is plenty creamy. Let's give it a taste. Wow. That is very, very close to refried beans. I'm telling you, those lupini flakes make all the difference in the world. So I have here my lovely wife, Terry.
Hello.
She is going to be the non-keto taste tester of this. And you had some of this in my trial version. This is the final version right here.
Okay. Yesterday it tasted really well, like refried beans.
Wait till you try this one. You ready? Mm-hmm. Here comes the airplane. Sorry, I didn't totally hit your mouth there.
Creamy and refried beans.
So would you say it tastes more beany than it did yesterday?
A splash. A little splash more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little less.
Still like beans.
So what I did was I doubled the amount of lupini flakes in here to kind of give it a little bit more of a bean taste and kind of maybe take away a little bit of that eggplant taste.
Yes.
So mission accomplished?
Mission accomplished.
So at this point, you can either save it, refrigerate it, freeze it. If you are going to freeze, though, I would recommend putting it in an airtight container or a Ziploc bag where you squeeze out all of the air. And I would think that it would probably keep for at least a month or 2. When it comes time to eat this, you've got a few different options. One, you can actually eat this cold as a bean dip, or maybe put it in a 7-layer salad. You know, Super Bowl Sunday's coming up pretty soon. Or if you are going to reheat it, I would recommend doing it, well, I'm going to do it just in that 3-quart pot that I used before, but I am going to add probably a tablespoon of either lard or bacon fat or butter. That's going to amp up the flavor. It's going to make it a little more creamy tasting as well. Then if you want, you could serve it up as a bean burrito, put it on a keto tortilla. I'll link to my 90-second tortilla recipe up here. That's a pretty good one for it. Or if you're serving it as a side dish, I'd probably top it with a little queso fresco, maybe a little bit of cilantro if you're into cilantro, maybe some sliced jalapeno, a little tomato, just something to kind of jazz it up a bit. As always, I will include the printable recipe along with all the macros down in the description below. Spoiler alert, it's a little less than 5 grams of net carbs per half cup serving. And most of that comes from the eggplant. You know, mentioning that 7-layer salad gets me thinking I should probably make a video on that before Super Bowl, so keep your eyes peeled for that. If you enjoyed this recipe, please click that like button. If you're not a subscriber already, tap that subscribe button, then hit the bell to turn on all notifications. And lastly, if you'd like to help support the Serious Keto Test Kitchen and get in on some of the perks of membership, click that join button and see what you can get by being a channel member. Thanks for watching.